Okay, so you've been playing around with random numbers in Python, right? Using range.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to kind of dive into something
Benefit.
that goes hand in hand with that and lets you do even cooler stuff.
Right.
And it's all about loops.
Okay.
Specifically for loops and this neat little function called range.
Right.
So think of it as giving you the power to repeat actions in your code,
Yeah.
but like with a lot more control. And it builds right off of what you already know about those random numbers.
Exactly. You've seen how range can like pick a number seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Now imagine being able to do something not just once, but multiple times.
Okay.
And in a really organized way.
Right.
That's where for loops and range come in.
Okay, cool.
And we've got some examples here that use drawing circles to show how this works visually,
Okay.
which should really help it click.
Cool. So our goal today is simple. We want you to really grasp how range works in Python and how you can use it inside those for loops to decide exactly how many times something happens and even what changes each time it repeats.
Yeah.
This is a super important tool in programming, and once you get the hang of it, you'll be able to create all sorts of interesting things.
Definitely.
Okay, let's start with the most basic form, range.
So when you see range, what's happening is Python creates a sequence of numbers for you.
Okay.
It starts counting from 0.
Okay.
And goes up to big, here's the key part, it stops right before it gets to that number n.
Okay.
You put in the parenthesis.
Got it.
And each number in the sequence increases by 1.
Okay, so our source shows a perfect example using a range 5.
Right.
And the kind looks something like this for I in range 5. Okay. So what will I be in this case?
Well, the variable I is going to take on each value in that sequence that range 5 generates.
Okay.
So I will be 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, and finally 4.
Okay.
Notice how it doesn't quite reach 5.
Right, it stops right before it.
Exactly. And for each of those values of I, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, whatever code is inside that for loop gets executed.
Okay.
In our example, it's drawing a circle.
Right.
Now, what's really smart about this example is how that value of I is used to figure out where to draw the circle. They're using a formula to calculate the horizontal center.
Okay.
Center X, like this. 40 plus 80I.
Okay, so let's trace those center X values as they changes, because this really shows how the loop and range work together to create a pattern.
Right.
So when I is 0, center X is 40 plus 82, which is just 40. When I becomes 1, it's 40 plus 81, so 120.
Right.
As it keeps going through 2, 3, and 4, the center X values become 200, 280, and 360.
Exactly.
So you end up with 5 circles nicely spaced out across the screen.
Exactly. And the source asks a really good try it first question. What do you think would happen if you change that formula from 40 plus 80i to 20 plus 80i?
Okay.
Take a second to think about it.
Okay.
What's your guess?
If we're subtracting 20 right at the beginning of that calculation for center X each time, it sounds like every single circle would just start a little bit further to the left.
Okay.
So my guess is all the circles just get shifted over to the left. Is that right?
You got it. Because you're reducing the initial horizontal position for every circle by 20 pixels.
Okay.
Here's another try it first for you.
Okay.
What if you changed 40 plus 80i to 40 plus 50i instead?
Okay.
What effect would that have on the circles?
Okay. This time the starting point's the same. But we're only adding 50 each time instead of 80.
Right.
That sounds like the space between each circle would be smaller?
Yeah.
So they'd be closer together?
That's spot on.
Okay.
These little tweaks really help you see the direct link between the numbers the loop gives you and what happens in your program.
Right.
It's all about controlling those repetitions.
Okay, so that's range.
Yep.
It's great for repeating something a set number of times.
Right.
But what if you want to start at a different number or count by something other than 1?
Right.
That's where range has another cool feature, right?
Exactly. This brings us to the second, more flexible form.
Yeah.
Range, low, high, step.
Okay.
With this, you can tell Python where you want the sequence of numbers to start, low.
Okay.
Where you want it to end, it goes up to but doesn't include high.
Right.
And how much you want to jump between each number.
Okay, so low is the starting number.
Uh-huh.
High is like the number it stops before reaching.
Yep.
And step is like how much it increases.
Right.
Or even decreases if you use a negative number each time.
Exactly.
The source gives us an example.
Yeah.
Range, 40, 360, 80.
Right.
And what's interesting here is that in their code, they even name the loop variable center X directly.
Right.
So the loop looks like this. For center X in range 40, 360, 80, it almost reads like plain English.
Right. In this case, the range function itself is generating the exact center X values we want for our circles.
Okay.
So the first time through the loop, center X will be 40.
Okay.
Then it adds the step of 80,
okay,
making center X 120, then 200,
okay,
and then 280.
Okay, now the source points out something a little tricky here.
Yeah.
If you use range 40, 360, 80, you actually only end up drawing 4 circles, not 5 like we did with range 5.
Okay.
Why is that?
It goes back to that rule of range, stopping before it reaches the high value.
Okay.
So even though we wanted a circle at center X 360, the sequence generated by range 40, 360, 80 stops at 280.
Okay.
To actually include 360, you need to make that high value just a little bit bigger.
Right.
The source shows the fix.
Yeah.
40, 360, 180.
Okay.
Now the sequence will be 40, 120, 200, 280, and finally 360.
Okay.
Because 360 is indeed less than 361.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's like setting a goal, you have to aim just past it to actually hit it.
Exactly.
The source also mentions that if you don't specify that step value, it just assumes you want to count by 1 right.
Exactly. If you just write range 55, Python automatically knows you mean range 50, 55, 1.
Right.
So it would go through the numbers 50, 51, 52, 53, and 54.
Right.
That's a handy default.
And there's a checkpoint 3 question here that's pretty interesting.
Okay.
It asks why using range 40, 440, 80, instead of range 40, 361, 80, doesn't change the final drawing of the circles.
Okay.
I mean, 440 is a much bigger number than 361.
Right, but the key thing to remember is that range stops before it hits that upper limit.
Okay.
So with range 40, 440, 80, the sequence it generates will still be 40, 120, 200, 280, and 360, even though 440 is higher.
Right.
The next number of the sequence after 360 would be 440.
Yeah.
360 plus 80, which is greater than or equal to 440, so it stops.
Right.
The loop runs the same number of times, and the last center X value is still 360.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's not just about the numbers you put in, but the actual sequence of numbers that range spits out.
Yeah.
And that same checkpoint asks how you would make the circles more spread out.
Right.
That seems pretty straightforward now, doesn't it?
Absolutely. To increase the spacing between the circles, you would simply increase the step value in the range function.
Right.
So instead of stepping by 80, you could step by, say, 100.
Yeah.
And the resulting center X values would be further apart.
All right, so we've taken a good look at both ways to use range. The simple range to repeat something n times.
Right.
And the more flexible range, low, high step.
Yep.
That lets you control the start end and how much you count by.
Yeah.
These are really fundamental tools for making your code do repetitive tasks in a controlled way.
Exactly. And now that you understand how to generate these sequences of numbers with range and use them in for loops.
Right.
Think back to what you learned about rand range. You could now potentially use rand range inside one of these loops.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of drawing circles at those predictable center X values we calculated, we could use rand range to pick a random center X each time through the loop, but maybe within a certain range or even a random size for each circle.
Okay.
That sounds like it could create some really interesting and unpredictable patterns.
Precisely. Imagine drawing a bunch of stars.
Okay.
You could use a loop to decide how many stars to draw, and then use rand range to set the random X and Y coordinates for each one.
Right.
Maybe even a random color.
That's a great example.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to recap.
Yeah.
We've seen how range gives you a quick way to loop a specific number of times with a counter that starts at 0.
Right.
And we've explored how range, low, high, step, gives you much finer control over that sequence of numbers.
Yep.
Both are super useful for making your Python programs do repetitive actions with purpose.
Exactly. And this control is what unlocks a lot of possibilities. You're not just repeating code blindly.
Right.
You're orchestrating a series of actions where the numbers change in a predictable way with each repetition, allowing you to create all sorts of interesting effects and behaviors, just like we saw with those circles.
So here's something to think about.
Okay.
Now that you know how to create ordered sequences of numbers with range, and you already know how to create random numbers with rand range, how could you combine these two powerful tools to create something really unexpected or dynamic in your Python programs?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What kind of cool visual effects or interesting behaviors could you generate by mixing that controlled repetition with a little bit of randomness
Mm.
Mull that over.
Okay.
And we'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.